Brian's love for people is stronger than his love of music or basketball. I've watched him share his Parkinson's diagnosis with people from around the globe, and it never fails to move me when I see the programs and fundraisers his foundation has created. The city of Portland, Oregon, has showed up for the man when he needed them most. I was so inspired, I launched my own foundation, Recording Artists Advocating for Fairness, RAF, to help artists with streaming rights. I saw him connect with people who were struggling even before his diagnosis. I lived near the King's Summer Run gym and one day passed Brian standing on the side of the road. A homeless man, lying on the ground, wrapped in blankets, reading a book, had piqued his curiosity. So he pulled his truck over to talk to him. Brian never carried the big shot attitude with anyone, and he didn't like to take advantage of his celebrity. I felt the same way. We go to these hot music clubs in San Francisco where the doorman would have let us right in. But unless it was cold or rainy, we were good with standing in line like everybody else. Brian married Gina, and the two of them did me the honor of naming me godfather of their second son, Jaden Boogie Grant. I'm known as Uncle Ray to all 8 of his kids, and they've given me some of the funniest moments of my life. Being part of the Grant family led to a visit to his hometown, Georgetown, which I learned is nothing like where I grew up in Oakland, California. Brian and I were in Georgetown, digging into a box of chili dogs at a famous local joint called Gold Star Chili, when an older white fella named Rex said, "Scoot over, boy," sat down next to me, and shoved me over with his butt. I looked at Brian. I could tell he wasn't happy. I could also tell this wasn't the first time something like this had happened in Georgetown. We both let it go. After Rex left, Brian told me the man had purchased Letterman jackets for Brian's entire high school team his senior year. So I guess there's some good in everybody. But I'd never experienced anything like that in Oakland, that's for sure. It gave me a real introduction to what life must have been like for Brian growing up. Fame and money were new for both of us. I had already learned some pretty hard lessons about handling the business end of my music career when we met, and I wanted to save him from making the same mistakes, like setting up a living trust and not giving someone the power to write checks for you. I've been in business 30-plus years, and I still sleep with both eyes open, if you know what I mean. I took it as a compliment when his agent, Mark Bartelstein, wanted to meet me because he appreciated the advice I'd given Brian. Truth is, both Brian and I have had our share of struggles. The one constant is that we've been there for each other. That's what real ones do. That, more than anything, defines who Brian is. A real one. I'm glad that he decided to share his story, so you can find that out for yourself. Grammy-winning recording artist Raphael Saadiq. Introduction. My affinity for Brian Grant began long before he entrusted me to help him tell the world he was afflicted with Young-Onset Parkinson's disease. Years before we ever met, I discovered we made it to the NBA in our respective fields, having been born and raised in roughly the same part of southern Ohio. It's not exactly a well-worn path. That 2 born and bred Buckeyes would collaborate to write a book as raw and deeply personal as this one also feels like quite an unlikely circumstance. If Midwesterners are known for anything, it's holding our mud, as we like to say. That said, there are a few characteristics that Brian and I share that might warrant our Midwesterner cards being revoked, not the least of which is that we both moved away. The seed for this book was planted roughly 12 years ago, when I flew up from my home on the California coast and interviewed him at his palatial estate on the banks of the Willamette River just outside Portland, Oregon, his adopted home. With ESPN cameras and TV lights surrounding us, I thought about how far we both had come to cross paths in that moment. I'm not talking just geographically, but culturally as well. When asked where I'm from and what it's like, I often joke that the tri-state area, southern Ohio,